Welcome to the Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We're going to start with breaking news in our world lead. Is Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. military operation launched against Iran February 28th, is it actually over? Well, it is, according to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. In the middle of his briefing at the White House just last hour, he dropped this.
Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace.
So, for context, Rubio then said the U.S. is moving on to what he called Project Freedom, which refers to President Trump's latest initiative of guiding commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz in an effort to regain control of the strait from Iran. Guiding, not escorting. You will note in that clip you just heard, Rubio not rule out additional military action should anything go sideways. And things have, to some extent, been headed sideways since yesterday. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this morning said the ceasefire with Iran is still intact, despite the fact that the U.S. and Iran exchanged fire as the U.S. began guiding commercial ships out of the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. And after Iran also launched missile and drone attacks against the United Arab Emirates, or the UAE. Hegseth described the United States' effort to guide commercial ships through the strait in a colorful way, literally a colorful way.
As a direct gift from the United States to the world, we have established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait. American destroyers are on station, supported by hundreds of fighter jets, helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft, providing 24/7 overwatch for peaceful commercial vessels, except Iran's, of course.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, said Iran has attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times since the ceasefire went into effect. Now, to you and me, that might sound like a ceasefire violation. The fire has not ceased. But when asked why it was not considered a ceasefire violation, the general described those attacks as below the threshold for restarting major combat operations. And President Trump today was asked what would constitute a ceasefire violation, if not that.
What do they need to do to violate the ceasefire?
Well, you'll find out, because I'll let you know. They know what to do, and they know what to do. They know what not to do, more importantly, actually.
It seems similar to what the president said in March, that he would know the war was over when he, quote, feels it in his bones. The Secretary Rubio also addressed the high gas prices caused by this Strait of Hormuz situation, up to $4.48 per gallon today on average. He found a new way to frame the impact, arguing that Iran must not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon because the threat that Iran has a nuclear weapon, that could lead to even higher gas prices.
If Iran had a nuclear weapon and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want with the straits, and there's nothing anyone would be able to do about it.
So let's talk about this with Anja Manuel, Executive Director of the Aspen Security Forum and former U.S. State Department Special Assistant under the George W. Bush administration. Also with us, Karim Sadjadpour, Senior Fellow with the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Thanks to both of you for being here. Really appreciate it. Anja, did Iran's actions, firing on the U.S. 10 times, does that constitute a violation of the ceasefire agreement? And if not, why not?
Whatever you call it, this conflict is not over. So you can change the name of the operation, you can declare the ceasefire on, off, but what remains the case is the Straits of Hormuz is closed. We are blocking Iranian tankers. Oil is sky high. American companies are suffering, and this conflict is nowhere near resolved.
Karim, take a listen to what President Trump said earlier today about the status of negotiations with Iran to end this conflict.
They play games, but let me just tell you, they want to make a deal. And who wouldn't? When your military is totally gone, we could do anything we want to them.
Is that how you interpret the situation?
Not yet, Jake. This is obviously a country, a regime which is suffering a lot internally. Iran is battling 70% inflation. Its currency is reaching new lows every day. Disgruntled population. But at the same time, it keeps taking punches, and it still is trying to close the strait. Whether we start negotiations with Iran a week from now or a month from now, I think we have a broad idea of what the contours of those negotiations are going to be. They're going to be about Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile, about its ability to enrich uranium, and about the future of the Strait of Hormuz. But that process is likely going to take months. The hope that President Trump has that he can kind of wash his hands of this and move on to another topic next week is way too optimistic.
And obviously, the president's desire to wish cast. He wants the situation to be as he wants it to be, and he hopes he can will it into that situation. But shipping companies, insurance companies who insure the shipping companies, they get to say who goes to the Strait of Hormuz. It's this idea that the U.S. will guide, not escort, but guide these ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Is that achieving what they want? Are the shipping companies jumping to do it?
The shipping companies are in a very difficult position, as are the oil companies, the airlines, everyone you mentioned, our farmers. I used to be a board director of a shipping company. Even if you could open the straits completely tomorrow, it will take months for spot rates for tankers to come back to normal, for insurance rates to come back down to normal. And you're seeing this now. You don't see a whole lot of takers on this offer to watch over ships as they go through the straits. So we're not solving the problem yet.
Karim, Tehran has warned that it has additional ways to complicate matters for the U.S. if its control over the Strait of Hormuz is threatened. What might those be?
Well, and you kind of alluded to this, Jake, that stability is something you don't appreciate when you have it, and it's expensive stability. It's maintained by military power, institutions, security coordination. Instability, as we've now seen, that Iran has mastered very well, can be very cheap, right? Because it takes them cheap mines placed in the Strait of Hormuz, $20,000 drones harassing $100 million tankers. And I think you're going to see Iran continue to use asymmetric power, because if you look at the Middle East, the countries where Iran was thriving were essentially 5 failing states: Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Gaza, and the Palestinian territories. And they do well in insecurity and instability. And our partners in that region, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, they want to be hubs for transportation, technology, finance. They need stability to thrive.
You talked a second ago about how bad the Iranian economy is doing. President Trump said earlier that he wants their economy to fail. How close is it to failing, and what would happen if it did?
When you're a nation state, you can keep printing money. So, as I said, they probably have the highest rate, top 2-3 highest rates of inflation in the world, 70%. The currency keeps dropping on a daily basis. But at the same time, they have a monopoly of violence. And as we saw last January, they're willing to continue to kill a lot of their own citizens to stay in power.
How does this end? And when does it end? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what would your speculation be?
Well, it could end in a number of ways. You could have imagined, for example, the Trump administration saying yes to Iran's offer of April 27th to say, you lift the blockade, we open the straits, no financial sanctions, everything stays on, and then we negotiate all the rest, the nuclear program, et cetera. That would be one way to start bringing this to conclusion. 2, the president could declare victory and say, look, we've achieved all of our military objectives.
Well, Rubio kind of said that.
He kind of said that, but yet then they haven't agreed to end the blockade and open the straits. So there are ways to bring the active fighting and this standoff over the straits to conclusion. I think the negotiation over the nuclear program, what happens to Iran, the Iranian regime, that will naturally take a long time. And Karim has said this often on this show. It's unclear who's even in charge in Iran. So that will take a while.
Thanks to both of you. Appreciate having you here. In Monterey Park, California right now, the stage is set for tonight's CNN debate.